Hi, my name is Katie, and today I will be talking about Sam Michlap. Sam Michlap was born in 1969 and calls California his home. While his personal life is pretty private, his work in the animation and illustration industry speaks for itself. Michlap has worked with various production companies, including Walt Disney Studios, Warner Brothers, DreamWorks, Sony Pictures, and RealFX. He has taught classes for the Los Angeles Academy for Figurative Art and the Art Center College for Design. And while he's not super active currently, he does have a YouTube channel where you can watch his design process, which is pretty cool. Within his work process, Michlap seems to have a very optimistic and open-minded view. He describes his workflow as organic and prefers to jump into his work rather than planning it out. He, of course, has plenty of ideas going into his pieces, but he states he likes to spontaneously create the emotions all at once. He does sometimes work very linearly, mostly in his early career, starting off with sketches, moving to tonal, and then color composition. However, it's the freedom of the creative process that Michlap is most interested in nowadays. And he admits in his early career, he was more focused on the finished pieces and getting it done rather than the process itself. Throughout his artist evolution, he has also discovered that music is very essential to his work process, the pulse of the music giving his work life. Michlap expresses that inspiration for his work are too many to mention, although he really does take into account how much the golden age of illustration has inspired him, which includes Norman Rockwell and Dean Cornwell. He mentions the matte glass painter Pete Ellenshaw, and of course Walt Disney and Miyazaki. And then over here we have a couple of his personal works. I thought this one was very cool. He does like a bunch of what if illustrations for Star Wars, and I thought this one was very cool with the pirate ship and Millennium Falcon in the background. While completing mentorships, Michlap worked as a layout artist for Walt Disney, in which he worked on The Lion King, helping refine designs for Pride Rock, as well as the Be Prepared scene. And then in the lower right corner, we see some illustrations of Pride Rock and what it actually turned out to look like at the end. And then some character works over here and a sketch of like the canyon scene. If you know, you know. He also worked on the background layout for the Hunchback of Notre Dame. In these pieces, we can see just how experienced he was in his early career, creating extremely dynamic scenes using perspective. And that is the case in every single one of his works. His scenes are very dynamic. Perspective is a like big contender in there, and it's just really cool to see like the early sketches like are even still this detailed. It's crazy. Okay. He did move to DreamWorks, and his first work that he did at DreamWorks was The Prince of Egypt. He moved from a layout designer or layout artist to a concept designer. And here we have some pieces from the movie, including The Parting of the Red Sea, which Michlap says is still one of the works he holds particularly close to his heart, which makes sense because it's a very, very, very cool movie and very, very cool scene. Here are some additional works he did at DreamWorks. The Road to El Dorado, who's a concept and assistant art director. Sinbad, he did concept, which is where these pieces are from. Shark Tale, he was an art director, not an area director. Astro Boy, he did production design and concept. Monsters vs. Aliens, he did concept. Madagascar 3 did concept, and Rise of the Guardians. And then ones that I have bold are going to be the ones that we're going to look at. So I thought this was very cool at the bottom to see how his process worked for the domes on the buildings in Sinbad. I really liked how it says like not this shape, and you can see him work more for like straight and curved edges. However, in a lot of the concept art, they end up going towards domes. So I thought that was pretty cool to see just how that worked out. Here we have some concept art for Rise of the Guardians. I was going to call it Guardians of the Galaxy. He also works on that too. But here we have a couple of scenes of like this one in particular, the Sandman doing his thing, and then down below we see some early concepts of the Easter Bunny. He obviously went towards something a little bit more rugged than that, but it was cool to see how the early sketches turned out. And then this one over here of the Tooth Fairy. And then I thought this was very cool to see how they were placing the characters in the scene. I think they did go more towards the bottom left concept. But you can see how they're still placing Santa Claus in there, and they were trying to figure out how exactly they were going to introduce all these characters together. Here we have some character work for Monsters vs. Aliens. Up here we have some concept art for the characters that were in the United States government. Up here, we have some of the monsters taking over the world. And then down here, we have some early sketches of what turned out to be the monster of the deep. And I can't remember this guy's name, but the bug, that's like the genius. And then down here, I thought it was very cool. Sam Michlap actually said that this is one of the first concept arts he did for Monsters versus Aliens, and actually helped greenlit production. And I thought that was very cool. You can kind of see the inspiration that they took from the 50s, putting these classic monsters in this like modern day setting. And I also thought it was very cool that in the corner over here, you can see Las Vegas is present. Okay, as well as animation, Sam Michlap has done a variety of work in live action, including Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which he did a ton of concept art for, which is where this one down here is from. And if you look at his concept art from Guardians of the Galaxy, it's pretty much, they just went exactly with what he did. There's some scenes that are exactly how they were in the movie, just in the early concept as well, which I thought was pretty cool. And then we have right over here, he talks about how he was very excited to work in WandaVision, which he basically just makes this mural for the background. But I thought that was very cool that he put that on his website. And here are some concept sketches for one of the final scenes of Birds of Prey in DC. And then down here, some of the early concept sketches for the Umbrella Academy, which is on Netflix. And he does have a lot of concept art for that as well. Thank you for tuning in.